Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We are talking with Andrea Wood Schmitz today, the founder of Industry Thought Leaders. Now, Andrea has been an international publisher extraordinaire since the 1990s. This lady knows her stuff. She's worked with the top executives, business owners, and entrepreneurs everywhere from Frankfurt all the way to Tirana. She helps these folks deepen relationships with their teams. She helps them build relationships with top influencers in any industry. And Andrea's latest startup concentrates on stress relief and peak performance with the unique aid of coloring books, adult coloring books. This is going to be a fascinating conversation. Without further ado, Andrea, welcome.
Well, thank you, Balaji. So glad to be here and so glad to be able to talk about the secrets behind those little wax crayons that we used to play with as children and something that we've probably stopped playing with for a long time, coloring books.
So, Andrea, this is a little bit counterintuitive for me and perhaps for our listener as well. What is the deal with adult coloring books? When did this become a thing?
Well, adult coloring books as a general thing became a really big thing when the Washington Post wrote a story about them. I think it was the 6th of April this year, and showing that on the top 20 in Amazon physical books that were being sold, I think 6 of them were coloring books.
Wow.
Out of all books sold on Amazon. And so we realized all of a sudden that we do have a great interest there. Of course, we're only talking today about a small slice of that, because basically what the Washington Post was bringing out there was recreational coloring, if you will.
Mhm.
But there are a lot of things that we can learn from the recreational publishing that kind of got me thinking over this summer and helped me to start my new company called Inkovator. Why are adults so big on coloring? And is it just women? Can we use this for business? Those were the questions that I was going after.
Okay, so our listener might not know this, but I am not a woman. And as such, adult coloring is maybe something that sounds nice to me, but can feel like a nice to have. Why would professionals, especially in our modern busy lives, why would we even consider bringing adult coloring into a business setting?
There's many, many reasons. But I think one of the main reasons is because it allows us to connect with something outside of ourselves, but something also deep within ourselves at the exact same time. You see, we were born to be creative. We were born as creative beings who are to manifest our brilliance in something that we do that's tactile, that we grasp, and that we move forward, and that we see evolve. And that's a challenge with our society today, where we're doing, especially for men, where we're doing much, much less creative work. My husband built the house that we live in. He actually physically helped build it.
Wow.
Most men don't do that. Maybe they've gone water skiing, but and then that's nothing against water skiing. I grew up in the lake country, and I did a lot of water skiing as a child, and loved it. But the point is that we're losing touch with our nature, with our own natural abilities that are within us, because we're out doing some pretty cool stuff, some pretty noble stuff. A lot of us are doing some brilliant things in the work field,
Mhm.
but it's almost abstract from our essence, from our reality. And so what coloring allows us to do is it allows us to just take a moment and focus completely on something else. From psychology, we know that the brain processes things. So if you have something that you're chewing on, whatever, it could be personal issue, it could be a work-related issue, it could be a relationship-related issue. If
Right.
you can take a time out and just do something, maybe it could, go play golf, squash, racquetball. I love racquetball. Um,
Mhm.
or go for a walk, or for a bike ride, or just sit down and do something goofy with your kids. Do something
Right.
completely different. Your brain takes that moment and is working in its subconscious, and it's dealing with whatever the issue is. And
Mhm.
oftentimes you can come back to it at least, at least refreshed.
Hmm.
But oftentimes we come back to these things with a different perspective or an insight or a key to unlock the door to the problem that we were dealing with and not getting over before we took our break. And coloring books allow us also to do that. It's something. It's a pattern interrupt, especially in the executive world or in teamwork.
Right.
It's the ultimate pattern interrupt. It's a digital detox. It allows us to actually, because if we take a break, how often if we're in the work context and we can't just go and sit down and play with the kids. I mean, I work from home. I could do that if I wanted to, but in the corporate world, we can't do that. And so we'll often go to, might go. I know a guy who did all his Christmas shopping like in November on his lunch breaks or whatever at work, or every
Right.
time and in a
Right.
moment between. But what they're doing, and sure, they're doing some great stuff. They're preparing for the next coming season. They're going to have a lot less stress than me because I'm notorious for leaving everything like that for the last minute. I'm the 24th of December Christmas shopper here. Yeah, I admit it. But he's not unplugging when he's doing that,
Right.
right? So it's a
Right.
digital detox. It's something completely different. And when we look at young children today, when I grew up, Balaji, believe it or not, when I grew up, the phone that we had in the house, the one phone,
Hmm.
it was attached to a wall. And
Wow.
when I look at my kids today, I'm like, holy smokes. Four of them have their own phones that they carry with them wherever they go. When
Right.
we took our oldest child is 18 years old, when we registered her for kindergarten at the age of 2, she didn't
Hmm.
start till she was 3, had to, register ahead of time. They asked for my cell phone number back then. So it's been, you know, a good steady climb since then.
Wow.
But that's what the world is, and it's not just a phone. Now they're playing games on their phone. They're doing all kinds
Right.
of stuff. You can read books. You can read Kindle
Right.
books on your phone. All of this stuff, well, I don't want to go into an argument about physical books or Kindle books or whatever. I read both. But the point is that, an actual physical book does allow us to unplug. The digital detox is
Mm,
also happening there.
mm.
But in the corporate environment, with all the wonderful things that we have, all the wonderful tools that we have that connect us worldwide, even back in the 90s when I was studying in 1992 here at
Mhm.
the Goethe University, a lot of the research I was doing was in conjunction with MIT in Boston. I'd never
Yes.
been to Boston. I still have never been to Boston, but we had some great research going there between the two of them. Obviously, MIT was ahead of robotics and artificial intelligence, and I was working with digital speech analysis. I was actually helping the Germans to create the first talking GPS systems, if you want to know what I
Ooh.
was doing back then. But the point is, the technical advances that we've had since then. Back then, the processors that we would have had to do that would have taken up 2 city blocks of
Wow.
space, right? Today, you could probably find that in a watch.
Wow.
Okay, so the technical advances are wonderful, and we're doing a lot more. We're creating limbs, for crying out loud, with 3D printers. We're doing a lot of really good stuff, but we need to continue to move forward with these creative advances. We need to continue to foster that creative energy within us through finding simple techniques, for example, through coloring books, or other techniques that are a little bit more extravagant, for example, going on that man cave hunt, or, those business, what do you call them? When they all get together and they go, I don't know,
Yeah.
rappelling or
Retreat. They go on retreat.
skydiving, retreats, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
Great things, but that's not a day-to-day thing that you can do, right? So, but that it serves the same purpose to connect with yourself and to connect with the other that you're working with and
Hmm.
create deeper bonding. And that's what coloring actually allows us to do.
I want
It,
to talk about this topic of stress, Andrea, because we all know that we do stressful jobs, but I suppose as modern parents, as modern professionals, we've kind of accepted it as par for the course. You've educated me, though, on some statistics about stress that blew my mind. In Great Britain, the labor force survey, for example, showed that 39% of a total 1 million cases of work related illnesses were stress related. In the US, the Labor Statistics Bureau has shown that $10,000 per worker is the cost of increasing job stress. This is costing businesses a lot of money. Can we really afford to keep going at this rate?
We can't. And it's happening it's not just the financial. I mean, that the financial is like $10,000 per person, per worker in the United States. That comes to what? Like billions of dollars,
Hmm.
hundreds of billions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
And but it's not just that. Listen, what we have here, and you can, you tell me, I'm not a guy, I'm not the guy out there in the work. I'm the woman. I work from home. But we have a lot of lonely warriors out there who suffer silently through this stress, and it takes its toll on the career, on the family, on your interests, on your personal goals. Not, I mean, that's just add that to at the end of the day, who cares if it's costing the United States $300 billion? I can't talk with my spouse anymore.
Wow.
I'm at the end of it, right? It's that personal. It's where it hits you at home, where we know we have to do something about stress. We have to find something to relieve that stress. And we can't just send everybody home and not work.
Is this affecting the C-suites as well, corporate executives?
I believe it is. I believe it is. I remember, gosh, it must have been about 15 years ago, talking with a woman here. Her husband was working in high tech in Germany, Colombian a computer guy, finance and computer guy here, and he would go on if he went offline for the weekend. When he came back on Monday, he had 300 emails plus that he had to
Mm,
just work through. Just that kind of stuff, right?
mm.
And just knowing going into the weekend that if he didn't keep up on top of his emails,
Right, right.
that would be the thing that slowed him down on Monday
Wow.
morning when he got to the office, because he had to at least have a look at it and say, no, 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 yes, no, 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 yes, sort through them and see
Wow.
what he had to do. And now that may be an extreme, but I think that your listeners are going to be saying, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just ask yourself, if you're listening to this right now, do you think that your spouse would be pleased if you left your phone or your iPad or your larger device, your laptop or whatever, turned off for the whole weekend?
You're living in
Would
a
that
fantasy world, Andrea. I can't afford to do. Oh, sorry, you're not talking to me personally.
Yeah, seriously. But then and just that statement right there is
Yeah,
causing stress and
that's right.
conflict within that one individual who's listening to it, saying, "Boo, she just shot an arrow right into
That's
my
right.
heart."
Yeah.
Right into my heart, right there. And I'm not going to be able to solve all those problems, but I am able to call to attention that you need to do something about your stress level, and you need to
Mm,
do it now. And once people are able, if your wife comes to you to tell you you have a stress problem, or you're heading towards
mhm.
burnout, oh my gosh. So if any of your colleagues come to you and say you're just short of burnout, it's too late.
Wow.
It's too late. You're so far into burnout that you need to step back, and
Mm,
you will have to step back. You're going to burn out. There's nothing. So these silent warriors that are out there, absolutely, and they need reprieve from their stress. And who's gonna say, well, I'm gonna take off. This is my husband did 3 years ago. He just stopped working. He became the stay-at-home dad, and it was a big, huge thing. It was a huge shift for us, but it's a big step, and that's where I learned also for men.
yeah,
That's a huge step to do. It
absolutely.
requires a lot of faith and understanding in who you are. You are
Absolutely.
still a man, and you can do that, but that's a luxury that not everybody can afford.
That's true.
And I wanna honor those men who are out there and working and continue to go. And when I realized the stress that my husband was going through, oh my gosh, I'm tearing up right now as I say that. I mean, oh
Mm,
my gosh, the sacrifice that you guys are bringing day in, day out to feed your families and make sure everything's going away. And even if it's a crap job, or you're not satisfied, or you're
mhm,
not fulfilled,
mhm.
or you feel like you're just not good enough, or if you just let up one moment, some other guy is going to move in on
Right,
you and
right.
take your position away from you, that
Yeah.
stress is real. That is what you're talking about, your statistics. That's costing a lot of money, but it's costing a lot of life.
Mm,
And the coloring books allow us, very simply, in an extremely non-threatening manner, to take a moment, Get rid of that stress for just a moment, because what happens when you start to focus on it? It doesn't matter if you gravitate to greens or blues or gel pens as opposed to chalk or wax crayons. That doesn't matter. It's this tactile work on something completely different that allows your brain to just step back and relax. It can happen on any time of your busy, busy day. You know what? If you have to, take it with you to the bathroom. You- Seriously, you're gone for 5 minutes. Nobody will see you. Just close the door behind you, right?
Mhm.
Nobody will see what you're doing, and just relax. And I hope that the people who are listening don't have to take that to the bathroom with them, because it's supposed to be a pleasant experience, right?
Right.
But the point is, if you're on your way to a flight or to a business meeting and you're in a taxi or you're in a car, you're taking the train or whatever, this is something that can easily slip into your briefcase. You don't have to have the whole 64 color pencil crayons with you. Take 3, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
super easy to keep with you. It doesn't cost as much as golfing does. There's nothing wrong with golfing. A lot of great deals and conversations and networking happens on the golf
That's
course.
right. Yeah.
Don't want to disrespect golfing, but the point is that these things have their time and their place, and coloring books can be that common denominator that goes across a lot. That really helps.
Andrea,
Mhm.
how are teams in a corporate environment taking advantage of these adult coloring books? Is there a way, you've painted a really compelling picture, by the way, for that one executive or that one professional to take it upon themselves to relieve some stress with coloring books. But how are teams able to do this in a team dynamic setting?
Well, this is really cool, and this is what I do, and this is what I love to do. I love to come in with a team leader and consult with them, and teach them how to do a few basic drawings. And from those few basic drawings, we create an actual book that's coming from them, without them
Wow.
having to be artistic-y, right? and
Wow.
and it just has to be a little bit more than stick figures, but that's okay, because I show you how to make it a little bit more than stick figures. So I take that and we publish that in a book that's your book, and it's for your team. It's your gift to your team, and you give that to your team. And what are you giving to your team? You're actually giving them your drawing, something that has come out of your own genius, from your own essence, from inside of you. It's not my drawing. Of course, I've enhanced it and made it, coloring book worthy for you, but it is your key, your source that it's coming from. And we give those to your team. The greatest hurdle is getting the team on board. But once they've all sat down and colored once, and that
Mhm.
once could be a 1.5 minute experience, it doesn't have to be. They are
Mhm.
most 9 times out of 10, they're hooked
Wow.
after that one short time, because it just puts them off. It does. It suspends your mind space at where it is. It just
Hmm.
holds it right out there and totally out of the way, and allows you to concentrate on that. What happens then is that your team members take this whenever they need it, and because not everyone's going to have a break at the same time, or going to need a break at the same time, and they
Yes.
color in something. So let's say you have a 10 page, and the books are usually 36 to 76 pages long, so they're much more than the 10, but I'm going to use 10 pages.
Okay.
We have 10 pages, and let's say your team is of 5 people. Those 5 people could be coloring any one of those 10 pages in their own individual book. And what they're doing at that point in time is they're continuing the creation that you started as the
Uh-huh.
team leader. And
Uh-huh.
what happens is uh, bonding on a level that nobody really sees happening, but that is happening. I'm
Mhm.
bringing my colors to your drawings. It's your drawings and it's my colors. And together we complete this creative work together.
Mhm.
And everyone on the team is doing this on their individual way. And it sounds all woo woo, woo woo and voodoo type of a thing. It's just extremely powerful because of the suspended mind space that we're in. We're not thinking about this. It's just what
Mhm.
happens on the side, right? So we're
Mhm.
and because we're not thinking of this, it still brings us a very, very nice round. And I mean, there are extra ways that you can do to enhance that. You can call the team together at the end of the month and say, hey, what have you done with your coloring books? Or you can take, I know of a team that took one coloring book. Each person got a coloring book, but each person was, at the end of the day, they took their coloring book and passed it off to another person in the team, so that the actual coloring book, by the time it was
Interesting.
colored in,
Yeah.
it had something of everybody in it.
Everyone's.
And it's just, to bring it to a completely different level. I've seen in my children's, in their primary school years, they actually collectively write a diary. And one kid will take the diary home every day and just write about what they did today,
Hmm.
which could be in school, which could be at home. And the kids get a real kick out of it at the end of the school year to go and flip through it and read what everybody wrote. And what you see with the kids is in the primary school that you see that like their penmanship improves, their vocabulary gets, the stories get more audacious.
Mm.
Well, let me ask you this. If you haven't been coloring for, I don't know, 30 years, I have no idea how old you are, so I hope I'm not embarrassing you anything.
Oh.
So let's say you haven't been coloring for 30 years, right?
Mhm.
And you pick something up and you just start scratching. It looks like chicken scratch. That's okay. Because even still, you're concentrating on that and you're using the only pen that you have, which is an ink pen. And
Mhm.
the next time you say, like, I wouldn't mind to have something a little bit red. And so all of a sudden you find yourself, just picking up
Right.
miscellaneous things. You may have children at home, so you'd kind of,
Steal
swipe
some of their.
swipe a few of their crayons, you know, uh, or whatever. But the point is that your coloring will evolve. Your intent and the enjoyment that you have in that, the creativity and the bonding within the group
Mm.
will grow out of that over time. It'll
Mhm.
be great. The benefits for you as a team leader
Mhm.
are a greater congruency with your team, a much more relaxed atmosphere, even in times of high stress. Now, I can't promise you that your stress is completely going to go away, right? But you're going to have a greater congruency within your team. You're going to have a greater basis that you can go with, a creative basis, even with those people who just sit there and say, I was born to draw stick figures. I'm not going to color. I'm not a colorer. Even those people will come on board and will become even if it turns into, a little jab in the and poke in the rib cage,
Mm.
kind of
Mhm.
like, oh, look at you. I see you're getting some, you got the glitter pens out, I see, because even stick figures can evolve, right? And can have a greater creativity. But what
Yeah.
happens is a greater bonding. So that when you do get out to that man cave together, or when you do
Right.
get out to that retreat together, that bonding
Right.
goes even further. So it's a supplement, it's a cheap supplement, it's a cheap way, an inexpensive way, and it's a time saving. It's not a hog for time. It's not going to take time away from your family,
Right.
but it's going to allow you. Can you imagine if you commute? I know. You said Toronto, so I come from Toronto, right? And Toronto, I know that in Toronto, over this, I've been living in Europe for the past 25 years, but
Mhm.
in that time, the GO train commute has gone like I think they've got trains that commute, like people commute 100 to 150 kilometers on the train to get to Toronto and back and forth each
Oh
day.
my.
That's well over an hour in the train, right? That's like a 2-hour train ride in the train each day,
Mhm.
one direction, right? And then 2 hours going back. That's, if you just pull out a coloring book on your way home, just before you get home, how does that suspend where you are, in your headspace? Totally clears it out. And you don't have to have kids at home. You can have
Mm.
kids at home. You don't have to have a wife at home waiting for you, but you might. And it allows you to just totally, it's almost like taking a shower, or, obviously you're not going to
Right.
smell fresher, but it is refreshing in that sense,
Mm.
right? It's a refresh, digital detox. Just get it all out of you, get your head's space in a completely different direction, and get prepared for the next stream that comes your way, whatever it is. Be prepared, be a good scout. Always lend a hand, whatever, those things. But it actually, just reconnect and be in the moment, be present wherever you are, where you're going. That's what the coloring books do for you. I know it sounds corny, but it's true. And if you haven't tried it, I dare you to. I dare you to just go grab a coloring book. You know what?
Oh no,
If
she
it's
didn't dare.
Elsa, go get an Elsa and color it in. Let
No,
it
she.
let it
No,
go. Let it go. you know?
no, she didn't just dare me.
I did. I did. And I dare the listeners, if you don't believe me, just try it, or just take an empty there's a difference between a doodling on an empty sheet, which is also okay, yeah, which is also very therapeutic and will help you. But
Mhm.
some people need that input before they get started.
Got it. The structure.
Mhm.
Mm. Fascinating. This is really fascinating. I'm gonna give it a try. I'll tell you what, Andrea. I will give it a try because I can't argue with the stress that comes with being a professional in this modern day. And if this solution works, I'm willing to give it a shot. So, Andrea, if the listener would like to kind of explore this with you a little bit more, where can they get more information? How can they get in touch with you?
Well, two things. First of all, you can always look for Andrea Wood Schmitz on Facebook or social media. You'll probably find me there. Otherwise, I have a report that's coming out, and it's at incov.at/peak. And I believe that you'll be able to put that link in there for me. And if you go there, click on that link, you can get a free report or see what we're doing now. Right now, there'll be a free report in there, but see if there's other ways to get a hold of me. In any case, there will be a way to send an email to me, and we can talk. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear, because there's nothing that brings me more joy than to finding ways to help men be the men that they need to be on the work field, and still being able to come home and be the people they're supposed to be, and enjoying their life as they should.
As we should. As we should. Folks, you've been listening to Andrea Wood Schmitz, the founder of Industry Thought Leaders. She's helping us reset our peak performance and get a digital detox. If you want to learn more, go to inkov.at, that's inkov.at/peak, P-E-A-K. That's peak for peak performance. Go get more information about Andrea Wood Schmitz. This has been a revolutionary conversation. I'm going to give the adult coloring book thing a try. I suggest you do as well. Andrea, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we will see you on the next one. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.